Welcome everyone. Today I wanted to talk about the upcoming Halo TV show. I have a lot to say, a lot of opinions about this show. I did recently, it was basically, I saw the trailer for this and I just decided that I had to talk about it because there's so many things I have to say. It's coming out in March, so next month's pretty soon on Paramount Plus, which I feel like Paramount Plus is streaming service like Apple Plus TV or whatever the Apple streaming service is called. Does anyone even have those? No one. I don't hear anybody talking about the content on it. I know Apple has that football movie about like the coach who's not really a coach. Uh, I don't know. That's the only thing I hear about. Lasso something. But anyway, so it's coming out this month on Paramount Plus, and I knew that this was happening. This has been they've always wanted to do live action Halo for a while. I remember when Neil Blomkamp and Peter Jackson were gonna direct a Halo, and they have done a live action Halo stuff. They had Halo 4 Forward Unto Dawn, which was a live action miniseries, like eight or six episodes. It was basically a TV show, just a miniseries. It's the same thing as a TV show. What's the difference nowadays? TV shows, movies, miniseries, limited series, they're all kind of the same. They all kind of blend together. I mean, could you not have just put Justice League as a... Could have made Zack Snyder's cut of Justice League a 4-part miniseries just as much as it is a 4-hour movie. Anyway, I did see that, the Forward Unto Dawn miniseries. I also... Well, I didn't see Nightfall, which is another live-action thing I believe they did. And I believe that was before Halo 5, because they had Mike Colter in live action portraying his character of Spartan Locke, which I'm going to get to him soon, too. But yeah, this is like the first big mainstream event Halo live action property, I would say. And so I want to say right off the bat, it's not canon to the Halo universe, so it's just kind of a who cares? Like, why does this matter? If this isn't canon, why does it matter? How many... I don't understand it with video game movies, why they can't make them canon. Like, why couldn't this be canon? Why couldn't you make a Halo movie or a Halo TV show that's canon? Okay, you don't see we've not seen every single aspect of Master Chief's life throughout the video games. Okay, you could easily make a Halo TV show starring Master Chief, takes place after Halo 4. Or you couldn't really do one that takes place after Halo 5, but you could do a Master Chief Halo movie that takes place after Halo 4 or 1. 2 and 3 connect. 2, 3, and 4 actually really connect. There's really no time in between for Master Chief between Halo 2, 3, and 4, because 2 leads directly into 3, and then 3 leads directly into 4. Now you could, of course, show other characters during those time periods. You could have a movie about the Arbiter, for example. You could have a movie about the Arbiter in between the events of Halo 3 and 4. Anyway, so it's not canon. It doesn't really matter. I don't understand why it's not canon. Whenever they make a movie or a TV show about a video game, they never make it canon, and I don't get why. Like, what's it gonna hurt making it canon? You don't have to, reference deep cut canon stuff that only people who read every single Halo novel are gonna understand. You could do that. You could pepper in a little Easter eggs here and there for that stuff. But you could still make a canon Halo story that newcomers would be able to understand and follow. So, there, right off the bat, that's no good. And then you see the trailer, and there's just so many things that are just wrong. There's things that are wrong, and then there are things that worry me. The things that are wrong, one, the voice. Now, I knew that they got the Pablo Schreiber, or whoever. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his last name right. I know they got him to play Master Chief. I didn't realize how not good the voice was going to. I don't want to say bad, because it's not bad. It just doesn't sound like Master Chief. It sounds like the Mandalorian, which leads me to other worries. But yeah, he just sounds like the Mandalorian, and the only two distinct features of Master Chief is his look and his voice. That's really all he has, and Master Chief barely even has a personality, to be honest. He's got his look and his voice, and if you think about it, the look isn't even all that special. I mean, we've come to see Master Chief as like default Spartan armor. If you play any game after Halo 3, or really any game after Halo 2, you just see how not cool he kind of looks. Because once they introduce Spartan customization in Halo 3 multiplayer, you get a lot of cooler looking designs like the EVA, the dome helmet. Everyone loves that design. And then of course Halo 4, they introduce other Spartans in the campaign. So you see the Spartan 4s. See how cool they look in Spartan. In Halo 5, you're playing as several different people. I mean, well, not just several different people, but if you're playing multiplayer, co-op, online. Halo 5 campaign, you're switching back and forth between Locke and Master Chief, and Locke looks much cooler than Master Chief, and you have people with you as well. So you're playing Master Chief with three other Spartans, Frederick, Linda, and Kelly, and they all look kind of cooler than you too. But there is a coolness to the design of Master Chief, just kind of that simplicity. But it's basic Spartan armor. It's default. It kind of lessens it in multiplayer when that becomes your default armor. Halo Reach did it good. Halo Reach, you had to unlock the Mark 5, I want to say it is, because you upgrade after Halo 1, and then after Halo 1 you pretty much wear the same armor the entire time. I think you might upgrade after Halo 4, I'm not 100% sure. But I think in Halo 2 you get the Mark 5, and in Halo 4 you have the Mark 4. Maybe it's 5 and 6. Not 100% sure. But anyway, Halo Reach, the default armor is like Recruit, or whatever it's called, and you have to upgrade to get the Master Chief armor, which that makes it more special. And it doesn't work so much with Halo 3, 4, and 5 when the Master Chief armor is the default. That kind of makes Master Chief's armor less special. So the voice, it just, like I said, sounds like the Mandalorian, which is a problem. I don't know why they didn't just get the same voice actor back to play Master Chief. I mean, he's a voice actor, he's not inexperienced or something. He's voiced Master Chief for 6 Halo games now. You can't get him back to, and the only thing, I feel like the only reason they wouldn't do it is they want to show his face, which I also disagree with. But I feel like an easy workaround is show his face, but just don't have him talk. It can be. I believe his name is Stephen Downes. He could still play Master Chief's voice. You get someone else to do the face, but that person who does the face, he just doesn't talk. Master Chief takes off the helmet, doesn't say anything. But again, you don't need to show his face. So I don't see the point of that. So honestly, they should have just had the voice actor Stephen Downes. I believe that's his name. I might be mistaken. They just have him do the voice and get Daniel Cudmore from 4 Unto Dawn. Get him to be in the suit again. He's tall. You just need a tall guy in that voice. The second thing, which isn't as big of a deal, which I saw was wrong, it was Cortana. Cortana just doesn't look right. She looks a little too real. She doesn't look very holographic and see-through. At least they got the voice back, which is fine. There's also the problem where now Cortana has the same voice actress, which is good. it also says, why couldn't they do that for Master Chief? Something I'm thinking of right now is the Mario situation. Like Mario, for whatever reason, they decided to cast Chris Pratt as the voice of Mario. No one understood that, and no one does. I don't understand it. They didn't, and the person who voices Mario in the games, he is in it. Like Charles Matt something. I don't really know. And people saying, well, why don't you just have him voice Mario? And the only thing that people could say that is maybe he doesn't have the experience, like with the, fully upfront or whatever, which still sounds like nonsense to me. But the voice actor for Master Chief has the experience voicing Master Chief, and especially as the games go on, Master Chief talks a lot more. I think after 4, he starts talking outside of cutscenes, which I was never really in favor for, but I'm going to accept it. But the problem with Cortana is they got the same voice actress for Cortana, but that voice actress, she's not playing Catherine Halsey, and as we know, maybe you don't know, Cortana is modeled after Catherine Halsey. So it's supposed to be the same person. So in the games, I think Halo Reach, they first introduced Catherine Halsey, and she's just the same voice act in the game. She's just the same voice actress for Cortana, just doing the voice of an older person. So I think they should have just gotten Jen Taylor to play Dr. Catherine Halsey. Again, I accept them not doing that a little more than I accept them not using the same Master Chief voice actor, because this is, maybe she doesn't have the experience portraying a character on the screen, live action, physically being there. Maybe she doesn't. I don't know. Maybe they want to get somewhere. I don't know the actress they got to play Catherine Halsey, but maybe she's just better for the role. And it's not that big of a thing. And for all we know, Cortana isn't based off of Halsey in this game, because, like I said earlier, it's not canon, so they could do anything. So those are really only the 2 problems I have with this. Everything else, it looks really good. Like, I like the design of the armors. It's so cool seeing, just the weapons and the vehicles. You see the Warthog, you see the Pelican. I think you see a Mongoose briefly. You see a couple weapons, mainly just the assault rifle. I feel like the only weapons you see are the assault rifle, the battle rifle, and the sniper rifle. You see someone use a pistol, but I didn't get a good look at that pistol. I can only assume that at some point they will... Oh, you see the chain gun as well. He picks up the chain gun. I can only assume at some point someone will use a shotgun, a rocket launcher. But, yeah. So, there's a lot of things in this that worry me. I'm worried they're going to do a number of things that I'm not going to like about this show. So, right off the bat, there's something you see which isn't worrisome, just kind of odd. You see characters using an AK-47, which just felt super out of place in this futuristic setting. But I suppose it makes sense. I mean, AK-47s are still used to this day for a specific reason, and I don't know, it's just like a staple of movies and video games and TV shows. And it makes sense that it's being used by like a militia or an insurgency or insurrection, some type of thing, because when you think guerrilla, you think Kalashnikov. So I understand why they're using it. It just feels weird. It just feels odd. You don't expect to see that. Like, oh, that's strange. But that's not like a problem. It's not really a worry. It's just a weird thing I noticed. So to get back to the Mandalorian aspect of it, I'm worried that he sounds like the I'm worried he sounds like the Mandalorian. That they're gonna make it become too much like the show, The Mandalorian, and I see they have some young female character that Master Chief decides to help, and that worries me. I don't want some found family thing that you get in movies nowadays, and that's just gonna bother me and annoy me. And no. And I swear to God, I'm so worried they're gonna do this, and I really think they might. Maybe they won't. But I swear to God, if they do like a baby grunt in this show, I'm out. Because that's like the new trend now. You know, you gotta get Baby Groot and Baby Yoda and Baby Peanut Guy from Planters. They're gonna do a baby grunt or make a cute grunt. No. Now, if they wanted to do something with grunts, if they did like this grunt sidekick, almost similar to the character of Rocket Raccoon, where he's just this like crazy brass swearing grunt, that would be cool. Like if you play Halo Infinite, there's certain moments with the grunts, the propaganda towers. Grunts can be pretty funny. So I feel like you could get some good humor out of grunts, just like the crassness and the vulgarity and the hostility of grunts. They could be very humorous, especially since grunts are, pretty pathetic. They're cannon fodder. They really pose no threat at all. So I feel like a grunt sidekick could be cool. But they're probably not going to do that. I'm kind of worried they're going to make a cute grunt or a baby grunt. Or baby anything. Don't give me baby anything in this. I don't want baby grunt or a baby elite or a baby jackal. You can't have a baby hunter either. I hope everyone who plays Halo should know the lore that the hunters are just a bunch of worms, which I don't know how that works, but the hunters are just a bunch of worms. And I'm also kind of worried that they'll forget like basic lore things like that. I feel like not canon, making a show not canon, is almost like a cop-out to ignore continuity and cover up mistakes. So if they make a mistake, like the grunts aren't worms, if they do that in the show, and it was really just something they didn't know, and then people call out about it and they say, no, actually in canon, hunters are just worms. Then the creators of the show can say, well, this show isn't canon, so in our universe, the hunters aren't worms. Hunters are just an alien species, just like the jackals and elites. No, it's a cop-out. Now, any mistake they make can just be explained away by being in a different canon. I don't like that either. So yeah, I'm worried they're gonna do a grunts cute thing. And again, it's the Mandalorian aspect of it. The found family crap. It's just, we don't need it. What else kind of worries me? Now there's a female character on the movie in the show, and I guess her whole point is that she was raised by elites, or maybe raised by the Covenant in general, but she's very specifically, she's sided with the Covenant. And I suppose she's meant to be the villain of the show. Because why not just have one of the Covenant be the villain? Have a brute be a villain. You know, you had a brute be the villain of Halo 2, you have a brute be the villain of Halo Infinite. Just have a brute be the villain. You know, why not? Or the best choice, which is apparently what they're doing anyway, but not really, is the prophets. Make the prophet of truth the main villain, like the prophet of truth was the main villain in Halo 2 and 3. More so 3, because again Tartarus was the main villain of Halo 2, but anyway. Because the prophets are in this, which I liked seeing. It was a pleasant surprise. But then I started thinking about it, and it doesn't really work. Now, the idea of a human aligned with the Covenant, that's interesting. I think that's something that could happen if you think about it, because the Covenant isn't specifically like a race or a species, it's a collection of species. So there could be some faction of humans who align with the Covenant. The problem is that only works after Halo 3, because the Covenant changes. The Covenant even changes after Halo 2 because of the elites leaving. But the Covenant dramatically changes after Halo 3 with the death of the prophets. You can't have a human in the Covenant and the prophets alive at the same time, because the whole point of the Human Covenant War is the prophets are kind of lying and, you know, manipulating the rest of the Covenant. It's the Human Covenant War isn't. It's almost just like anti-human in general. The Covenant want to kill the humans for no other reason than the fact that they're humans. They would never align with the humans because it's a holy war against the humans specifically, that entire race. Even if they were from a different planet than Earth, you still wouldn't align with them. It's basically like saying Hitler would team up with a Jewish person. That wouldn't happen, because that defeats the whole thing that he's going against. So the prophets are specifically anti-human. Now the elites aren't. The elites and the grunts and the brutes and jackals, they're not anti-human so as much. It's really the prophets, because the whole organization of the Covenant, and this is going into lore here now, the whole organization of the Covenant it's very religious, worshipping the Forerunners. They view the Forerunners as gods, when really they're not gods. They're just kind of ancient beings who were equal to humans at a time before humans and Forerunners were both wiped out by the Flood. Well, not wiped out by the Flood, wiped out because of the Flood. They activated the rings, which killed all the life in the universe, and then life started up again. The humans started up again, but the Forerunners did not start up again. So that's why the Forerunners are no longer around, even though the humans are still around. So the prophets, they discovered that humans were just, you know, kind of descendants of Forerunners, and that messes with their religion. So to cover and keep their power and control over the Covenant, the prophets declared war against humanity in general. And that's why I feel like a human would never be allowed to be part of the Covenant, and hold any position of power, mind you. Now, a human could be part of the Covenant in secret and a behind the scenes type of dealing, but not hold any position of actual power. You know, a brute isn't going to listen to a human give commands, especially if you know how the brutes are. If you look at the schism, I think they call it, that happens between the elites and the brutes. So that doesn't really work. But like I said, it would work post Halo 3, because we see the Covenant kind of resurge in Halo 4 and 5, but they're not the same Covenant that there were in 1, 2, and 3. They were a different Covenant. And I mean, it's more like a splinter group. They have different, they have different motivations. And of course those motivations don't align with the humans, but they could align with specific humans, because if you look at Halo 5, and I guess this is something that they expound upon from Halo 2. In Halo 5, you still have the good elites, because the Arbiter returns in Halo 5. So there are elites who have sided with the humans, and then there are elites who have sided with the Covenant. So in that same vein, there could be humans that sided with humans and humans that sided with the Covenant, just like the elites. So it could work, it just can't work in the scenario that they're putting it in the show. That's something that I'm going to be very curious about, to see how they handle that. So that's my other big worry. And I guess the main problem that I have is just the not canon aspect of it. I also don't particularly care for making Master Chief the main character, so to speak. Now, if I were doing the show, I would make it somewhat of an ensemble cast, maybe like 4 or 5 main characters. Master Chief would be in it, but he would kind of be sequestered to the background almost. He would almost be like a supporting character. I mean, obviously you need him for the cool fight scenes and stuff. But I feel like if you want to have the drama or the emotional stuff, you kind of leave Master Chief out of that. Master Chief's just kind of standing in the background with his gun, waiting to be told what to shoot and where to blow something up. That's kind of what Master Chief's purpose is for. And you don't need Master Chief to be the main character. I feel like I mentioned you have Mike Colter. He is a good actor. You could just have. That's what bugs me so much too. Is you have so many good actors who are portraying characters in the Halo series who could just come back and portray their characters in live action. You could have Mike Colter come back to play Spartan Locke. You could have Ron Perlman come back to play Terrence Hood. We haven't seen Terrence Hood since Halo 3. Keith David could come back, could provide the voice for the Arbiter again. Even Nathan Fillion could play Buck. I feel like he might be a little old to play Buck at this point, because Buck still seemed pretty young in Halo 5. I don't know. It's just I don't think a Master Chief centric story is really the story I would want told in a Halo TV show. I think if I wanted a Halo story to be told, I would explore the elites a little bit more. I would explore the elites and that culture, that planet, sort of like the inner workings of the elites, and that's where you bring back the Arbiter. Obviously, the Arbiter is, I guess, friends with Master Chief. They're at least allies. You could have other characters that were introduced in Halo 4. Yes, Spartan Palmer, Commander Lasky, or Captain. I think he's Captain Lasky by the point of Halo 5. He was, by the way, Lasky was the main character of Forward Unto Dawn, the miniseries I mentioned like 50 minutes ago when I started this video. You could have him be in it as well. But yeah, I think it would be much more interesting to explore the Covenant. Kind of see what's been going on. Like, you could even, they're not going to do this, you could even start before Halo 4, so not even have Master Chief in it. And then, Season 1 could take place before Halo 4, follow the Arbiter and Locke and Lasky and Spartan Palmer and all these people. And then Season 2 takes place during Halo 4. So like Season 1 would end with, Master Chief's back, and then there'd be the big cliffhanger. And then Season 2 would take place during the events of Halo 4, and you could kind of show what was going on with characters like the Arbiter and Locke during the events of Halo 4, and then Master Chief would have like a Master Chief would show up here and there throughout the events of that season to tie in to Halo 4. And then Season 3, you could get full-on Master Chief, main character, take place after Halo 4. Do some setup for where the movie, where the story goes leading into Halo 5. But I feel like they just think the most important thing to the franchise is Master Chief, which it's not, unfortunately. I feel like, and also I mentioned how really in universe that armor is kind of generic. If you didn't want to put Master Chief but still wanted Master Chief to be in there, just have Spartan Philip wear armor that looks like Master Chief. You can have Master Chief in the poster and trick people into thinking, "Ooh, Master Chief's in this," and then Master Chief doesn't show up, but Spartan Philip does, and it doesn't really matter because you got him watching the show and you're like, "Oh, this is kind of good. And hope the real Master Chief shows up at some point. Maybe I'll keep watching in case he does." Now, I say all this, and there's one thing that they could do in this show to win me back, which I don't think they're gonna do, but there is one thing they could do in this show that would win me back. That's the Flood. If we got a really good Flood story, I feel like all my problems wouldn't matter. Like, if we got a really good Flood story, it wouldn't matter if it wasn't canon to me. No, and that works in general. Like, if this show comes out, and the Flood aren't in it, but if this show comes out, and it's just really, really good, then it's not going to matter as much to me that it's not canon. Because, hey, it's a good Halo story. I like Halo. That's fine. But if this show comes out and it's a really good Flood story, then it's not going to matter that it's not canon, and it even works almost better that it isn't canon, because you don't have a lot of time frame to do a good Flood story. There's not, especially not with Master Chief, I don't think. I don't know. I don't know the expanded universe of this, but from the standpoint of the games, the Flood are gone in between the events of Halo 1 and 2. So you can't make a Flood story in between Halo 1 and 2, to my knowledge. Now, you could make a Flood story during Halo 2 or during Halo 3 or in between, but there's not a lot of wiggle room there, and you're going to worry about confusing timelines, I think. And after Halo 3, the Flood are gone. Now, I've always been worried that the Flood are going to come back. I feel like I play every Halo game with a latent level of fear that the Flood are just going to show up and ruin my life. But that's why I think it would work best if you made a non-canon Flood story, which really just explores the Flood. Not just the generic zombie thing, but a really good Flood story that really explores the Flood and explores the true horror of the Flood, which isn't like how fast they move or anything like that. The true horror of the Flood is the intelligence they have. If you had a grave mind in the story and really explore just how intelligent the Flood are and use that for horror, that could be really good. A Flood horror story, like horror TV show. It's like it takes place on Halo number 6, and they go there and the Master Chief's exploring and he stumbles upon the Flood. Like basically the events of Halo 1. Just kind of, change things up a little bit. Which, now that I say that, saying that it would pretty much be the events of Halo 1, it almost makes me wonder if they will introduce the Flood in this movie. I don't honestly know. The Flood haven't been relevant for a while. At this point, we've had more Halo games without the Flood than we have with the Flood, because Reach, 4, 5, and Infinite have all not had the Flood. I don't know about the Halo Wars. I feel like one of the Halo Wars might have had the Flood as well. But if Halo Wars 2 had the Flood and Halo Wars 1 didn't have the Flood, then that still balances the scale. It's still more without the Flood. I could very much see them teasing the Flood. Like, I could see that would be a really cool cliffhanger if the last episode of the show, or the last episode of the season, is like, oh, there's this door we gotta get into. And like, oh, there's a lot of warnings saying we shouldn't open this door. No, we need to go in there quick. And they open the door, and it's like the one door containing all the Flood, and then the Flood come out, and then just cliffhanger. That'd be a great cliffhanger if it does a cliffhanger with the Flood. But yeah, just like a really good Flood horror story where it's kind of like not really one setting, but like Halo, the ring is one setting. You're not flying off to different worlds. You just take place completely on the Halo ring itself, and just the humans trying to stop the Flood. It's this impossible, incredibly smart enemy that they know, like, if a single Flood leaves this ring, the entire universe is doomed. So we need to make our stand here. We need to stop them. It doesn't help that we also got a whole bunch of Covenant who are also trying to kill us. So we got to fight the Flood and the Covenant, while the Covenant are also fighting the Flood. So, not a good time. But again, that's just the plot of Halo 1. So I don't know. But yeah, I would really like the Flood story would be really, really good. So, like I said, I got a lot of worries, a lot of problems with this show. I'm gonna start wrapping this video up now because this has been long. This has been about as long as a podcast, honestly. So yeah, Halo. I enjoy the Halo franchise. I would be excited to see this story. But you know, the non-canon thing kind of hurts me. Kind of makes me lose interest. You need more. Like, I need more than just knowing Master Chief and Cortana and the Covenant are in it. I don't even know about the Halo. I feel like they're gonna do something with Halo, with the actual ring. That worries me too. If it's gonna be like a small ring, or like not gonna be Lord of the Rings. But anyway, I've talked about this enough. No one's even gotten this far into the video. If you have, you know, do the usual shit. Like, comment, subscribe. I never say that. Should I say that at the end of my video? Should I say like, comment, and subscribe? I don't know. I feel like people do. I always kind of find it annoying when people do that in their videos anyway. But yeah. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you next time.